Beautiful day in the mountains. Up here in the Rocky Mountains. About halfway up a canyon from Loveland to Estes Park. Way back in the retreat, they call it. And it's just like the perfect summer day. July 4th, or otherwise known as Independence Day weekend. Yep. Independence Day. What a concept, right? How far we've slipped from those original tried and true principles, concept of God-given rights, and the healthy skepticism, distrust of government. Brought to us by fairly moral people, compared to today. I mean, by far, in contrast with most citizens that make up this country today. Yeah, those people, by comparison, were moral giants, right? Love the sound of this area. A natural spring that comes right out of the ground right here. You could probably drink the water too. I won't risk it because we got our own up there. We come down to bottle our own fresh mountain spring water on the property here, the parent-in-law's property. Thankfully, for everyone, they had enough foresight to buy this property way back in the 70s for something like maybe $1,000 an acre. Roughly around 30 acres right now. And yeah, old Rich worked for it. Moved to Alaska for a while to earn some money. And he just gradually came back. Used the trees from his own property to build this quaint little cabin up here. Yeah, they're blessed to have a above ground spring for a main source of water. And here's another one right here. Just freshest, purest water you can imagine. I love that sound. This is where the fire came through. Cameron Peak, Scar area. All these trees have been killed. This place has been flooded several times since with the rain.
Going through it pretty soon. It's more smooth and it started coming out the filler cap on the transmission instead of the hydraulic system. I think there's a hose inside that lifts the head up. It has to a big ram, and the hose pushes the fluid to that ram and pushes the arm up. There's rocket on that makes lifts equipment on the back, and I think that hose is got a hole in it. I'm hoping.
It's probably like, 50 years old?
I thought that thing was like 60s or 70s after I looked up the serial number, it's 57.
It's pretty amazing they last that long. But I can't make cars last for more than a couple years, but tractors last forever.
Yeah, they do. If you take care of it, if you change the oil in it, take care of it, man, those things will last long.
Why do you think that is? You're not putting as many miles on it, but
Well,
still the engine still has the same amount of like hours on it, probably.
yeah, some farmers just abuses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they never change the oil. I figure when it's done for it, just trade it in, get a new tractor.
I see some on Craigslist now and then, and Facebook. They're usually around, you know, like at least 5,000 to 8,000 or so
Oh, yeah.
for a decent looking one.
I had it was a Fordson.
Fordson?
Yeah, I think it was 72 or so. Had a nice blade on the back, had a bucket on the front. Decent. I bought it from a guy down the road on Highway 43, and he took the pump off the fuel pump, the fuel, anyway, the pressurized fuel for the injector.
Mm-hmm.
When he put it back on, he got it out of time, and the tractor just didn't have any power. So I went up and he had it there at the end of the road for sale. So I went up and I drove it around it and got it. And I still bought it. I think I got
Wow. It's not
I
bad.
was home and I got to checking on things and I took that pump off and the little markings inside it. And I have to line that up. Just a mark on the motor block and then you're trying to pump with that. And it was off.
All of a sudden it had all kinds of power.
Just, man, it just fixed it, you know.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I had it's not as cool as that, but I was at this estate sale up there last weekend, and this guy was like, he had one of these like power mixers, you know? Like, you know, the old style mixers, but this is a little bit newer.
Next one.
Like flour or anything, like trying to make your own bread, or,
Okay, yeah.
and he tried it. So he let me test it first, and he couldn't figure out to get it work, so he just gave it to me for free, and I was like, cool, I'll take it home. And he was pushing the wrong button. On the back it has like a dial that you turn to different speed. So I was like, sweet, got that for free.
It is very interesting.
Only thing was he has the two of the separate, different style of mixer blades on it, you know? So one's like square and one's round. So they kind of like run into each other a little bit. I gotta go see if I can find a set that matches or something. Yeah, I got some tools too. Pretty good deal. Got a nice, is it a miter box? Like a steamer.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty nice. Real wood, you know, with the metal guide. Nice little saw. He had two big old size on the side of his shed or garage. I don't know how much those go for, you know, like those big antique size or like sickles.
Yeah, I don't know what they go for.
Yeah, he asked me $50 for both, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really need them for anything. They look kind of cool, like hanging there.
Some of that old stuff used to bring home the money.
Yeah.
Anymore.
He had one of those old ride tractors, you know, like for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like so rough and it just rusted out. It didn't have the tires, and I think he's missing some other parts. And I was like, I think he wanted like $50 for it. And I'm like, let me go home and look it up. And that's, yeah, I'd be lucky if I got that if I tried to resell it. There's a bunch of that out there. better condition too. Kind of cool looking, though. Little display thing. I got a 1969 Denver Post newspaper when they landed on the moon.
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool. I haven't looked through it all yet, but it's got like multiple pages in the back where it's got all the images from the moon landing. That was kind of cool. Not really worth anything. It's like I paid $5, so it's probably about worth maybe that. Yeah, I think so. It's just funny, like seeing it like that on the newspaper with the worst quality images too.
Well, that's all I had back there.
Yep. And then the prices on some of the ads were kind of interesting too. Like, what was it for a bed? $800 or something for a full box spring bed. Which I thought, yeah, it's still kind of expensive, but compared to today, it's probably like what, 3,000 or something.
It's kind of cool. Because you read about the historical characters and what they did. Yeah, that is.
Yep, it's pretty charred around here.
Yeah, it's something we should look at.
Pretty charred.
Yeah.
Birdies are coming back though, at least. Remember when there's like no birds up here? Huh? Bird pink.
You're sweet.
Yes?
That's it. There's not much to it.
Nah.
I thought they were weeds.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
It was grassy. Looked like it'd never been used. But
Old axe head.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's no handle.
Uh-huh. Craftsman. How long's Craftsman been around? It's like 50s or something. So they used to do what up there though? What were you saying? What did they used to do up there though? Hunt?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Pretty
beautiful up there.
cool little ravine.
On top of it, to the left, the big valley.
Should hike up there sometime. Hike up there sometime.
Kind of a hard.
That looks pretty steep.
Easier to go up there. Go right across the hill.
Probably prettier
Going
before the
up,
the fire.
zigzag back to
Up that way? Up
the.
that way?
Going up, I've gone straight up this way. Anyway, it's just top.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna break your neck. Mosquitoes, man. This is all white water, huh?
Broad, wasn't it broad and backed up? I had one of the girls on with me, broad, back and
Horses, man. That was pretty cool. Richie, father-in-law, was telling us some stories about this little canyon up here. He was saying that people used to hunt up here. Pretty steep trail up there, but he says it all opens up into a big meadow. And of course it was a lot prettier, big tall ponderosas, a lot prettier before the fire. But he said he found an old Craftsman axe head up there. Yeah, that guy's been all over these mountains, traversed these mountains for decades, And he was telling me that just recently, I think it was last year or the year before, can't remember now, I think it's just last year, they had this little stream here that I was just talking about, turned into a white water raging like the Big Thompson, he said, coming down this this little ravine, and it came across the road here, and it just completely covered the road, and it was like a river running down the road, he said. And you can see over here, this is just from a couple rains, right? You can see right here where the water was covering this stump, which is about 3 feet high. So yeah, power of nature. How quickly that little tiny stream can turn into a torrent. I respect it. Smell this one? Huh? Okay, they're not listening to me. Old Dodge. The old Dodge Power Wagon. I think this is kind of emblematic, I guess. I'm just going to end with this, of the American spirit, right? I mean, look how tough this old truck is, right? In comparison with, how wimpy cars are constructed anymore, right? Am I right? They're stamped out of these factories, mass-produced by robots. For the most part, most of the work is done through automation these days. But man, this stuff was like solid back in the day, right? This is a Dodge, man. It's an old Power Wagon. This thing's a beast, and it's still running, right? That's what I was talking with Rich about. Like, why do you think it is that we can have these tractors? He's going to be working on his tractor tomorrow. He's described me all the work he's got to do to got to completely drop the axle, he was saying, to get to the brakes, and he's got to take one tractor to lift up the axle for the other trailer. This guy's just a monster. I mean, I got shoulder issues just from doing a little weed whacking the other week. It's been about 2 weeks now, and I got a pinched nerve in my shoulder. I swear how soft we've gotten after generation after generation. And I wonder, how much of it is to do with vaccination, maybe. All the vaccines are perfectly safe, right? What is it, RFK Jr. was saying in his day when he was a kid, children got 3 shots. Now it's up to, what is it now? 70 some? 78? I don't know what it was. Yeah, just kind of makes you wonder. But, the Bible also talks about how, the earth itself is waxing old like a garment, right? Like it's getting worn out, like an old worn out garment. Clothing, right? You can only wear your clothes for so long before you start getting holes in them. They start looking like rags, usually the type of stuff I wear around the house. I'm not in front of a camera, but yeah, just the difference, the contrast, right, between the citizenry of this nation today, even just based on the cars we used to build, right? Solid metals, that stuff that was built to last, to endure, right? And just the cheap, mass consumer garbage, the planned obsolescence, right? And I don't know, it just seemed like we had more purpose back then. And nowadays it's just what are we? Consumers? A lot of people, unfortunately, they are what they're told that they are, and that is, we're just here to have fun, work, buy things, party, do whatever, maybe have a family, but for the most part, what are most people driven by, right? What motivates most people? Yeah, this old tractor right here, I think this is what he's working on. This could be the tractor, maybe it's not. He's got a couple, just again, look at how this thing is constructed. if I can get to it. This old beast. Look at this thing. It's like a work of art. I love this stuff. You know, it's Ellis Chalmers. Never even heard of that. Company before. And look at it. Everything on this thing is an antique. I love it. It's just a work of art. And it smells too, I tell you what. Yeah, it's got it like patched up with a little rag in here. I don't know what. I have no clue. I'm not obviously like halfway as mechanical as Rich, my father-in-law, but it's really cool to talk to somebody like that just thinks that way, right? God, this old tractor though. Yeah, things were just built different, and the people were built differently. 100 years ago, 200 years ago. This nation is still young. And man, how fast it just seems. It seems things have just devolved, like at warp speed, right? Seems with the older the Earth gets, like the quicker mankind just gets. Worse and worse, just more and more degenerate. Yeah, look at the garbage that kids have to grow up with it today, right? Like it's this cultural stew, this toxic culture that kids have to try to grow up with and make sense of today. But yeah, I love these old tractors, man. This thing's a beast. Maybe this is the one that he was talking about. The old John Deere. John Deere tractor. Yeah, he's talking about the hydraulic system was leaking. There's some kind of hose in there that he's got to get fixed. Man, this guy, you can't keep him down, I tell you. And yeah, just that contrast between the character, the moral fabric of how quickly it's just been. It's been worn out, I guess you could say. It only took a few generations to break us, right? Break our spirits. And just acclimate everybody. Get everybody used to the idea that, your freedoms, they can be taken away, right? Given the right crisis, given the right national emergency, the government has the right to strip you away of whatever freedoms it wants, right? To close churches, right? To force you and your children cover your faces just to go out in public. Man, that sure sounds like a lot of like Muslim countries, doesn't it? Sharia law, burqas, right? But it's different because we had a health emergency, right? So it just takes the right excuse, I guess. And they know this, right? The government knows this. More correctly, not the government. The government is always just this nefarious, this nebulous phrase. It's the criminals. It's the ones who rule by secrecy behind the curtain that have captured, that have seized control of our governments, that have studied mankind. Who, in my opinion, as a Christian, they're demonically inspired, right? Satan himself has studied mankind for, if you believe in the biblical account, almost 7,000 years now of studying human nature, what makes us tick, and how to easily manipulate us. And the Bible also talks about, like Paul, this battle between the carnal mind, right, the flesh, the things that we desire, that we crave, right, and the spiritual, right. Spiritual transcends the temporal, the simple need for gratification, for pleasure, for appetite, right? And it's kind of interesting to think of it in that kind of a spiritual context, and how the moral fabric of this country has been gradually, generation after generation, just destroyed through prosperity, right? We had all these different time frames in our nation's history, where there was all this prosperity, and the standard of living went up, and everybody had a car, everybody had a house, it seemed like, right? And but with that material wealth, I think one of the byproducts was kind of a atrophying of the spiritual development in the American citizens, American population as a whole. So yeah, unfortunately, we've arrived in this place in this country where here we are on a Independence weekend. Gonna celebrate Independence Day here pretty soon. Sit around, indulge as we do as Americans, right? Many people will get drunk, have barbecues, go out and get our senses overloaded with the powerful display of fireworks, right? The fireworks show. We got some friends we're probably going to hook up with in Estes, and it's always great to see it up there. If you haven't yet, if you're Coloradan out there watching this, yeah, go up to Estes sometime and watch the fireworks show, because it is pretty cool. Like just hearing the roar, the explosions, it sounds like you're in a battlefield. You can hear the roar echo down the Rocky Mountains, and it's usually over the lake Estes, so you can see the reflections as well. But as we celebrate, I don't know, I mean, all I can think of is how far we've slipped from those ideals that this nation was founded on. And I think it's intrinsically tied to how the moral fabric of this country has just weathered away, just worn out like a garment, right? Like a pair of old clothes that have too many holes, they're falling apart at the seams, right? They don't even serve their function anymore, right? And the only solution is, I don't think it's from voting for corrupt, 10 times worse politicians, morally bankrupt swamp critters there in DC. I think the only solution is for the people, to make the choice who to serve, right? To get back to God, repent, turn from your old ways, your wicked ways, and just daily, try to become a more moral people. And I'm not saying that we're going to turn this country around, prophetically. I don't see that happening. America, lamb-like beast that it is, I think it will fulfill prophecy, and it will be the one to lead out in enforcing the mark of the beast, the mark of false worship. But as individuals, God judges us, not as a collective. So, some things to think about. What are you doing out in the car?
Sitting,
Moseying. Where's Dan?
sleeping.
Yeah, you guys probably want to go home, huh? Yep. But, what's up? What do you got?
I'm just sorting this trash can right here. Transmission.
This is out of your tractor transmission.
Yeah. I was looking at it,
In
and
the world.
this thing here got destroyed by the reverser gear.
Wow.
This little thing here moves back and forth and puts it in reverse. And a reverse gear is junk.
That looks
I had to buy another one.
something out of the 1800s, man, like
Huh?
primitive.
That was 1957. It's not that.
It just looks primitive.
Yeah, this goes around the gears. The gears have a collar on it. Gear has a collar on it, and this fits around the collar of the gear. And when you pull the handle around it, these go back and forth and shift the gears.
How the heck did you get that thing out
This
of
one
there?
has been busted.
Yeah.
Somebody welded it up.
Yeah.
I thought I found one. The guy wanted $108 for it. I would have paid that.
Mhm.
So I called him up, and he said it had been sold already. So
$108.
$108.
Is it
I
because
paid.
they're rare?
Huh?
Is it because they're rare
Sure.
or what?
It's old. And they only made it's a D14, and they only made like In 1957, I think they only made like 1,900 of them.
Hmm.
So there's not that many around to get parts off of.
Oh.
You can buy reproduction parts, but they're about as expensive, plus the fact they're made in China,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Metal's probably
you could-
garbage too.
Yeah. Chinese don't
Bands.
know how to make ball bearings, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese do. There's a difference, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess I'll just parrot the phrase I think I've seen on a bumper sticker before. Beautiful sunset, isn't it? Yeah, it's not God bless America. It's America needs to bless God, right? God is always there to bless his people. Problem is when his people are no longer worthy of a blessing, because they've turned their backs on God. Yeah, even when it was Israel, God's chosen people, if they choose to walk away from God, and they were led into captivity, whether it's Babylon or under the oppression of the Roman Empire. Same applies to this day. He's pretty. Nature's fireworks show. Happens every day. A lot of people don't see it. Take the time to. All right, good night.